Maldives Country Report launch. Spotlight on tourism and hospitality.
Co-hosted by Dr. Anil Bedavithana. Presented by Hoshin Ranmini and Mirikshani Mendes.
A very good afternoon to you all, and a warm welcome on behalf of Research Intelligence Unit. I'm Anil Priyanka Bedavithana, Senior Consultant to Research Intelligence Unit. And this webinar is actually to launch the Maldives Country Report 2025. I'm also joined by the founder, CEO of RIU, Mr. Roshan Madawala, and RIU Research Economist Nirikshani Mendes and Hoshni Ranmidi. So thank you for joining us again, and a few words about Research Intelligence Unit. We are a multi-sectoral research consultancy and advisory organization. We provide market intelligence, economic research, and strategic advisory products and services for both public and private clients globally. Our background is, it was founded in 2003, headquartered in London, and regional offices in Colombo, with presence in several other countries. They specialize in research that helps decision makers, investors, governments, and organizations to make informed decisions. We offer services of investment appraisal, market and financial feasibility studies, market strategy development, then environmental and social impact assessments, and also reports, which is very important because basically today we are launching the Maldives Country Report for 2025. And with that, we go to a promotional video, after which we will present you with the country report. Thank you so much. And now, actually, just that before launching the country report for the Maldives, I must impress upon the fact that these must-have or must-read for anybody who's planning to invest in the Maldives, because it carries so much information for your decision making. And as I mentioned earlier, we have two of our experts, research economists Nirikshani Mendes and Hoshin Ranmini. And I will hand over to Nirikshani Mendes first to make the presentation of the Maldives sector strategic developments and the country report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So again, I would like to warmly welcome all of you to the webinar. So good afternoon, everyone, again. So today we are diving into one of our landmark publications, the Maldives Country Report. So this is a flagship research product which will be presented by Research Intelligence Unit. And this product, or as this report itself, captures the strategic, economic, and investment realities of one of the world's most unique markets, which is Maldives. So this report, put together by RIUNIT, it's not just about the numbers. It's a roadmap of where the market is headed and the big infrastructure shifts which is happening in Maldives and what's actually driving the investment reliability in the island economy of Maldives today. So with that note, I would like to give you a quick notice. Me and my colleague Hoshin will be presenting a kind of a summary of our country report. And if you have any questions to be asked, please put your questions into our chat box. So after the presentation, we will be having the panel discussion as Dr. has mentioned. So we will be trying to answer the questions as time permits. So with that, I would like to give a quick picture of this report structure. Before we get into the big data, we need to have a quick look at how we have structured this session or our report. So first, we will be going to start with the investment reliability with the current economic status. And then we will be moving through the core tourism statistics. Then we will be looking at how the resort market is functioning in Maldives. And we will be doing a comparative analysis of similar and mature markets to Maldives to wrap it all up. So we will be looking at the Caribbean, Canary Islands, Dubai, Thailand, like that as well to do a comparative analysis. So moving towards our section 1, which is we are going to do an assessment of the Maldives, whether is it a reliable investment destination. So many of you might have this question in your mind. Is the Maldives actually a reliable place to put your money? To answer that, we have to look at how the economy is performing, how the growth is functioning, the stability of the economy, and how their one island, one resort model acts as a financial backbone. We have to look at everything and come to the answer. So moving towards the quarterly real GDP and tourist arrival growth, you can see that if you look at this chart, you will see a very tight link between the tourist arrivals and the gross domestic production. So the real GDP, it grew up by about 4.5% between January and August 2025. That's a nice step from the 3.7 that we saw in the same period in 2024. And this really shows that when tourism moves, the whole country itself moves along with that. In the transport sector, retail sector, and the public and administration, it moves with it. That's a very positive thing that we can see about the tourism development. And then we are coming to the inflation and the exchange rate stability in the Maldives economy. So you know that whenever someone is going to invest in a particular country or as in a particular industry, they love to see how the stability is in their country. So as of July 2025, inflation has cooled down to around 4%, and which is higher than the lows of early 2024. But it's definitely moderating. On the currency side, you know that the Maldives rupiah is pegged to the US dollar at a central rate of 12.85. So that peg backed by Indian support and the rise in tourism cash. So that's what keeping the exchange rate steady right now. And moving towards the exports, imports, and the international reserves. So it's not a secret anymore that the Maldives imports almost everything. It's such an import-dependent country. Fuel, food, you name it. So that really creates a trade gap, and the debt repayments are putting pressure on their reserves. However, the foundation is still there. The stable exchange rate and a strong tourism recovery, those two things are giving the resilience we need for the medium term. Keep it in our mind, not for the long term. And then we are coming to the business reliability and the investor protection. So you might be thinking, how does the Maldives compare to its neighbors? My colleague Hoshin will be doing an in-depth analysis about this, as well as when you purchase our report, you will be getting to know more about these things. But to answer that question, how does the Maldives compare to its neighbors? Surprisingly well. We have high score of 8.0 for both manager responsibility and the shareholder power. So you know what? That's way above the South Asian average, and it actually puts us close to the benchmark like the countries like US. So it really shows that the solid legal framework for protecting investors who are coming to invest in this country. Looking ahead, RIUNIT and the World Bank, according to our analysis, we expect that growth to stay steady between 5% and 6%, throughout 2027. So we have seen a massive 13.8% jump in 2022 after the pandemic. And now we are settling into a more sustainable, steady climb driven by new infrastructure and diversifying services sectors. So moving towards the tourism statistics, now once we get into our report, this is kind of the part of our report, the tourism statistics. So this is where we see exactly how the market has evolved and why the quality of our visitors is actually becoming more important than just the quantity. I will be explaining it more in our next slide. So moving towards the next slide, the total tourist arrivals and the travel receipts. So this is a massive takeaway that we have to think. While arrivals are growing, the yield is growing faster. In quarter one of 2024, arrivals went up by 15%, but the receipts surged by 27%. That's impressive. We have seen the spend per visitor jump from about 2,176 in 2019 to 2,810 in 2025. That's a 30% increase in how much each guest is worth for this island economy. So moving towards the tourism arrivals by nationality, the leaderboard has changed. When you look at these two graphs, you can see that China is back in the number one spot with 190,000 arrivals so far in 2025. And this was followed by the Russia and the UK. Interestingly, Indian volumes have dropped significantly, this number compared to the 2023. But when you look at Europe, between the UK, Germany and Italy, it still makes up nearly half of our tour arrivals. So moving towards the occupancy rates, so you can see that resorts, they are the kings of occupancy still. They are hitting around 80% early in 2025. But, as an investor, there is an insider scoop that you have to take. Ultra luxury resorts, basically they have no off season. Like there is also a huge sweet spot for new projects in the range of $700 to $1,000 price range for both resorts and the safari boats. So you know that right now people tend to stay for about 7 nights on average now. But someone can say, okay, we have seen the longer stays during the pandemic. Yes, but things have started to normalize and it will be becoming better. So for the operators, this means you have got to be more cautious and efficient with the guest turnover, and you have to really focus on the high value. So you have to deliver the immersive experiences right now. You're doing that though, to make those 7 days count, to make it more longer and to bring them back into this island economy. And moving towards the accommodation facilities comparison. So when we look at these donut charts, at the top compare the number of individual properties available right now. So if you look at the guest houses, this is the most significant change. In 2018, there were 490 guest houses. By 2025, the number almost doubled, jumped to 869. Resorts, it also started to grow steadily. They increased from 130 to 181 properties. And looking at the safari vessels and the hotels, these remain relatively stable with minor increase. And what's the thing that you have to take out of here? The local island guest house market has nearly doubled. That's approved. And they are offering more budget-friendly options compared to the traditional private island model. So investors have to be very cautious when they're delivering their product, when they're designing all these things. And then the power of bed nights. On the same slide, you can see that the bar chart at the bottom shows the bed nights, one person staying for 1 night. Basically the bed nights. So this measures the actual volume of business. When it comes to the resorts, when you look at the gray bars here, even though there are way more guest houses, the resort capture 84 to 87% of all guest stays. And they are one island, one resort model. According to the data, that the Maldives' global reputation is mostly built upon the luxury private islands. They generate the most revenue and the forex to this island economy. And you can see that when it comes to 2020, there is a massive gap due to the global pandemic that everyone have had to face, with a strong, steady recovery leading into 2025. And moving towards the next slide, we can see that accommodation facilities in the Maldives, starting from January 20 to July 2025, we have done an in-depth analysis. So the data shows a steady expansion of the tourism sector. If you look at the yellow line, that indicates the resorts. So this sector grew from 130 to 183 units, and they remain the primary source of income for the country, and it represents the core luxury brand of the Maldives. Next line, the blue line, that indicates the guest houses. So this particular category saw the most rapid growth, nearly doubling by 2023 before it gets stabilized around 900 unit mark. And then the green line, it indicates the safari vessels. So you can see that it was remained relatively stable, and it got fluctuated around 159 units. But they also primarily serve niche markets like the surfing and diving. And the red line indicates the hotels. So this is the smallest category, and that shows very light growth from 11 to 16 units over the 5-year period. So what's the big picture that you need to see here? Guest houses experienced a massive boom in the recent years, and their growth has recently slowed down. The current focus of the industry is shifting back toward the high-end resorts, while the safari vessels and hotels, they continue to serve as supporting players in the market. And we are coming to the last slide of my part, which is the bed nights and capacity. We have to really look at the actual capacity. Now we know that we have hit about 2 million available beds as of July 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And the great news is that demand is keeping up with, and also we hit a record of 1.46 million bed nights in February 2024. Even in the slower months, the numbers stayed high. What does it prove? That proves that Maldives has fully moved past the pandemic shock, and it is back in a major growth phase. That's a vital factor that everyone has to look forward, and that gives hopes to the future of the Maldives economy. So with that, I have come to an end of my part, and then I would like to invite my colleague, Hoshin Ranmini, to continue her part. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirvada, for that comprehensive walkthrough of the macro and the tourism demand side fundamentals. So, with that, I'm going to walk you through the supply side economics, the cost structures, spatial dynamics across atolls, and what it really means for investors, developers, policymakers looking at Maldives over the next phase of growth. So, moving on, in this slide, we can see there is a major structural shift in who controls the value in Maldivian tourism. So as you can see in here, the international chains, they have expanded from 29% of resort ownership in 2001 to 56% in 2025. While the Maldivian ownership has fallen sharply from around 38% to 18%. So this shift explains why pricing power and the global visibility have strengthened, especially in luxury and upper upscale segments now dominated by the international brands. And also, the star rating mix reinforces this premium positioning once again, with over 80% of the resorts now being 5-star. So, moving on, this particular slide gives us, I would say, two very important realities of the Maldivian resort economy: the human capital structure and the cost anatomy of running a resort as well. So, first on the employment side, resorts employ around 55,000 people. From this, only about 41% are from Maldives, like Maldivians, while the rest, the 59%, are actually the foreign workers. So on the other side, you can see the cost structure of maintaining or running a resort as well. As you can see in the bottom corner of the right side, the employment cost, the staff cost, the construction, imported materials, these are some of the major cost components of a resort maintenance. So, what does this really mean in simple terms? So, according to the secondary data and, of course, the industry sources that we have gathered, Maldives is not a low cost tourism destination to operate in. It is high OPEX, high CAPEX market, which means only high ADR and high margin products to make truly make sense in the long run. Yeah. So moving on, this slide actually shows how unevenly tourism activity is distributed across atolls. Yeah. So if you look at these atolls like Ra, Ba, Alif Alif, and Alif Dalu, you can see that arrivals are disproportionately high in these relative to their population base. So this tells us that the tourism growth is partially concentrated, not evenly spread across the country. So what's interesting here is that many northern atolls still have relatively low arrival shares despite having resort inventories, I would say. So this suggests that connectivity, branding, the transfer costs still matter more than just having room keys. So for investors, this means that location within Maldives also matters as much as the country itself. So you are not just investing in Maldives, you are investing in a specific atoll's airlift access, resort clustering, and brand gravity as well. Sorry. So moving on, this slide make one thing very clear. The Kafue Atoll, if you look at the Kafue Atoll, it dominates the Maldivian tourism economy. So if you do the calculation also, nearly 50% of the total arrivals are concentrated in this particular atoll. So this is not accidental. This is pure infrastructure economics. So Kahu actually benefits from Velana International Airport access, lower transfer costs, better frequency of boats, and other factors as well. So moving on, this is one of the important as well, the average rooms by atolls. So here, if you look at atolls like Ta, Shaviani, Gafudalu, and Nunu, so the prices have actually doubled, almost hitting 1,200 USDs to 1,350 USDs per night. So this is not just nominal price inflation. So this is the market repricing, and this is driven by luxury repositioning and also new ultra premium supply as well. So you can also see even Mashu atolls like North Malay have pushed their average daily rates above 800 USDs, showing that rebranding and asset upgrading can materially lift yields even in saturated segments. So moving on, I'll quickly scroll through these slides for your reference as they provide supporting context on foreign developers, entry dynamics, upcoming projects, and performance benchmarking. But I won't be taking much time here. So you can have a read if you're interested in the full report. So with that, we are moving on to the next slide. So this particular slide shows that the foreign investment into Maldives, the tourism sector it is not just short term. It's not a short term trend actually. It is a decade long structural shift, I would say. So if you look at the past 20 years, from 2010 itself, the major foreign developers have entered into this market. And this continued momentum, even after the disruption, shows us something, tells us something. That is, Maldives is perceived as a safe, long-term tourist asset class. Yeah. So moving towards the upcoming resort projects, the pipeline, it also tells us a few things. First, the scale of the capital coming in is large. Global brands like Mandarin Oriental, Corinthia, Rosewood, Capella, Baccarat, these players are not just speculative players. They enter a market only when they see long-term demand visibility. So we can see some strong confidence in the Maldivian tourism sector by these global brands as well. Yeah. And the second thing that we can see is that this pipeline is heavily skewed towards luxury and upper upscale segments. So this confirms what we saw earlier as well. Maldives is structurally locking itself into a premium tourist growth path, not a volume-driven one. So for developers, I would say this raises the competitive bar. So future success will depend less on just building rooms. It will be more on design differentiation, branded residencies, experience-led revenue, and integrated resort concepts as well. Moving on, this slide actually quantifies the strategy shift. So here you can see some estimated numbers as well. So if I explain just one column, the luxury supply is projected to grow from, it was around 4 resort back in 2015, but it is expected to grow up to 14 resort by 2027. And also the average daily rates, they are also expected to stay around 3,000 USDs, and the occupancy is also expected to stay around 80 to 85. And if you compare the mid and lower segments compared to these upper upscale low luxury segments, their pricing power and their growth is relatively slower. So that is the observation that we can see right now. And moving on, so this is actually where the macro story and the tourism story finally connect. The Velana airport expansion, this is a structural unlock for Maldives. It shifts Maldives from a capacity constrained economy to a yield optimization economy, right? So the big insight here is this. So future investor value will come less from adding room keys and more from extracting value per guest through maybe other what you call experiential tourism, food and beverage experiences, wellness, branded residencies, and other premium services. Yeah. So moving on, now we are coming to a new section with that, and here we will see some of the main infrastructure activities that is going on in Maldives right now. So here we can see Greater Malay Connectivity Project, Hul Malay Development and Phase 2 Expansion, regional airport and hub upgrades, and especially the capacity enhancements at Velana International Airport. So, which is expected to increase the annual throughput from 2.5 million passengers to 7 million passengers, which is a significant impact. Yeah. So once again, in the other slide, you can see some of the other infrastructure projects as well. So just inviting you to read through it in the full report. And with that, let's quickly look at these tourism statistic, a small comparison between Maldives and its similar markets versus mature markets. So here in this slide, basically it answers one of the key questions that investors always ask. Does Maldives still have pricing power or has it peaked? The story is actually pretty strong. Among similar island markets, Maldives is the standout, as you can see in this graph. Yeah. So it is, I would say it is the only one sustaining consistent premium rate expansion with double-digit ADR gains through 2025. So meanwhile, as you can see in here in the numbers, Seychelles is flat, very much flat. Caribbean and Canary Islands sit around 1 to 5% growth, which is stable but with limited upside. And when it comes to mature markets, we can see Bali is very much volatile and price sensitive, and Phuket is more of a volume-driven recovery story. And if you look at Dubai also, it has flattened to low single-digit ADR growth. So Maldives, among all, Maldives is clearly playing a different game. It is value-led, not volume-led. So Maldives still has room to reprice upward because it's staying scarce and premium. So moving on to the occupancy. This is actually where you test whether high room rates are really the demand itself or just temporary pricing. And what matters here is the relationship between the occupancy rate or occupancy resilience and the ADR strength. In many destinations, you either see price go up and occupancy drop, or occupancy rises only when discounting happens. But the Maldives positioning is a bit different. It is one of the few markets that can hold a premium rate narrative without behaving like a discount-led destination. So the key observation for investors is this: Maldives isn't just selling rooms, it's selling exclusivity, and that protects occupancy quality over time. Yeah. So moving on, here you can see the target audience profiling and the market segmentation for each price brand. Yeah. So if you are interested, you can read the full overview of this in the full report. With that, we are coming to the final bit to put this in a summary. Maldives is not just scaling by volume anymore. Yeah, the Maldives is not scaling by the volume anymore. It is scaling by value actually. And that changes how investors, developers, and policymakers should think about the market over the next decade, I would say. So first, the tourism momentum continues, and the Velana upgrade is framed as a step change, not just a marginal uplift. Second, the market is repricing up, and the segments are really clear. The ultra luxury, the ADR is around 3,000 plus, and there is upscale, then upscale, mid economy, and then budget resorts as well. So that is why Maldives should be viewed as a yield-led market, not a volume play. So the closing message is clear here. The real investor value now comes from yield per guest, the ADR experiences, food and beverages, the brand residencies, as I described earlier, rather than simply adding more room keys. Yeah. So with that, we have come to the end of the summary presentation, and we warmly invite you and encourage you to explore the full report via our website, which will be put to this chat box, I think. So if you have any questions, as we have suggested, please put through the chat box or the Q&A section. And with that, we will be moving on to the panel discussion where you can raise your question. And our Dr. Anil and our guest person will be there to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dirikshani and Hoshin, for that excellent presentation. It's a kind of cross-section of the Maldives Country Report 2025. Of course, a wealth of information is there. And as I said, it is a must-read for anybody who is wishing to invest in the Maldives or do business in the Maldives. And information alone is not enough. You got to have incisive thinking and analysis. And let me tell you some of the services that RIU offers, Research Intelligence Units. We do investment appraisal, market and financial feasibility studies, market strategy development, environmental and social impact assessments, publications, reports, as you saw the country report, real estate markets, example, Philippines, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and we've done country reports for Bangladesh as well, and social media user landscape studies. We also host and participate in investment forums and research events. One such example includes recently held Sri Lankan Real Estate Investment Forum in London in 2025 for the second time. There was another one earlier in 2019, yielding very good results before, prior to the outbreak, global pandemic, and then 25 was a follow-up. So a major invest event was held, and it brought together developers, investors, officials, and the diaspora stakeholders to discuss market trends and investment opportunities in the real estate sector of Sri Lanka. We also have offices in Colombo, Sri Lanka, London, Colombo, Sri Lanka, and London, UK. Dhaka in Bangladesh, and Mali, Maldives. And our clients include government bodies, private sector firms, and development institutions across countries. And Research Intelligence Unit is often quoted in industry news as contributors of data-driven insights on economic and real estate conditions. So therefore, you can see the array of information and analysis and feasibilities that Research Intelligence Unit can provide. And unfortunately, I have to inform you before the Q&A session that Mr. Ibrahim, for unforeseen circumstances, has excused himself, and then all the authors of this Research Intelligence Unit country report, Maldives, are here. So therefore, especially the two economic experts, Nirikshani Mendes and Hoshin Ranmini, they both made an excellent presentation. So all the questions you need to ask, you can put in the chat box or Q&A section, and we can address them. So we have a short break with two promotional videos, and then we'll come back to the panel discussion. Okay, over to you, Niflan. Okay, so we have some questions from the audience. One is, why is the Maldives considered a rare and unique destination in the global tourism and investment landscape? And why Maldives is not easily replicable? I'll answer that question because I have actually extensive experience in the Maldives, and I've seen tourism grow from a very early stage to today. And what is so unique is that Maldives is actually doing high-end tourism, and also each resort has a unique flavor, so that people who visit Maldives for various reasons, they go for water sports, diving, the sun and the sand, of course, and then the culinary delights that they get, and it's all catered for. And also the transportation and everything is, very luxurious. And of course, the oceanscape, which is beautiful, turquoise blue ocean, is very relaxing to the mind. And it is got like 24/7, 365 days of tourism, because somewhere in the world, it is a season to visit the Maldives. So Maldives has a very short off season, if you like, and the Maldivian people have now stepped up from the 60s when tourism started. Tourism, when they wanted to do, first of all, the World Bank said that tourism is not for the Maldives because being a completely, Sunni Muslim country, they will not be able to cater to the, palates and also the likes and dislikes of the tourists, international tourists. But they actually bucked the trend like the bumblebee, who scientifically is not supposed to fly, but Maldives has flown much further. I mean, they've reached the sky, they've reached for the stars. So that's the story of the Maldives, and it is rare. It is a unique story, and it is difficult to replicate because there's no other landscape of 1,200 islands strewn over a vast area. which is bigger than India, actually, from the north to the south. So it is a string of like like a pearl necklace. It's a beautiful structure, and also the most wonderful undersea adventures that you can have is in the Maldives. Yeah, that is the answer to that question. But I would like to ask Nirikshani this question, which is actually what makes it impossible for other destinations to copy or reproduce the model? I answered it in part, but I think they've done a comparative study. So from that, Nirikshani, what can you tell about the other destinations that are trying to either emulate or trying to follow the Maldivian model?
Yes, that's a good question, Doctor. So when it comes to Maldives, I think uh, there are real opportunity in restructuring the tourism value chain for them. Like instead of trying to build completely unrelated industries, they can even try to do a smart moves to grow tourism link related sectors that naturally plug into the existing ecosystem of Maldives. So they can start to do high value marine services, yacht and cruise logistics, premium fishery segments, wellness tourism. I think Hoshin also has mentioned education tourism, rehabilitation tourism, medical tourism. So at the same time, the country can build more economic resilience through the smarter systems. I think we did not touch this base. Like, no, they can also widen the tax base. Some might be wondering why is she telling this? They can design better land lease and service tax structures. They can charge the variable lease and service fees based on the resort performance, like their occupancy, ADR, revenue tiers, or instead of the flat rates. I think that will help the high performing properties to contribute more, and the small operators would not be overburdened. And also, they can improve their forex, which is to be retained in the system. So, as I have previously mentioned, they are mostly import dependent country. So they need a portion of tourism earnings to stay in the local banks. I think in 2025 they had a problem with this. So they can use the tourism link forex accounts and prioritizing the local sourcing of food, fuel services, and the logistics to reduce the dollar leakage around to the abroad. And also, I think they can create the stabilization buffers. Not many countries have the ability to do that. So they can save the surplus of tourism revenue a bit during the strong years into reserve or stabilization funds. So those funds can support the economy during the downturn, shocks, or debt pressure periods. So that will work as a cushion for the economy. And also, I think even now they are doing this PPP or the PPF, the public-private financing models for their infrastructure. So they are building airports, harbors, water plants, renewable energy systems, and the transport networks through the public-private partnership. So there, the private capital shares the cost and the risk instead of the government carrying the debt. So the core idea is very simple. We have to keep this unique concept of one island, one resort as the anchor, but you have to build multiple supporting income engines around it. So that way we can diversify without destabilizing the system that already works to this beautiful island economy.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was a very expert opinion and expressed eloquently. And actually, this is what they're having at the moment. There's a crunch on the reserves, so dollar reserves, because most of the model that the Maldives, which was actually another question, is what is the model that they've adopted to develop tourism? Is, as you said, the private and public partnerships in financial modeling as well as their resources. So they actually have this problem of retaining the funds within the country. Because most of the international operators would rather have that, expatriated to their own countries, so repatriated to their own countries. So they have, a lot of expat population working there, which is also a drain on the reserves because they have to be paid in dollars, right? And then Maldives is now developing their own resources, human resource, capital is there very much. Now even in the financial sector, for the first time, Maldives appointed a CEO who is like a Maldivian. All along it has been for BMW. The BML. I wish it was BMW. And BML, which is the Maldives, bank, national bank. They actually have their own, Maldivian head for the first time. It's always been a foreign person coming from different countries, Europe or India, British. It's always been like that. But now the value or the capacity building of human resource is developing to a very high level. So I think these are excellent opportunities in 2026 for them to grow. And it's another question that is there. Why is the Maldives not overcrowded despite strong tourism growth? How about Hoshin? Why don't you say how come that there is so much of growth in tourism? In your report, you expressed, right? Both high end, mid, and even the low end, right? Where rest houses are concerned, you've got a lot of guest houses going on in inhabited islands also. How is it that it's not getting overcrowded?
I would say because there are so many atolls that are yet to be habitatized as well. Yeah, because right now only a few of the atolls in some geographical areas are highly crowded, and some other islands are yet they have untapped potential. Yeah, so if we can expand the infrastructure and other facilities, so we can easily manage the overcrowding issue and also welcome a large array of tourists as well, I would say. Thank
Yes.
And
you.
I would like to add something to that, Doctor. So I
Yes.
think they are having this one island, one resort concept. Because of that, tourism is spread across hundreds of separate islands.
Yeah.
So that prevents the mass crowding typically found in, for example, coastal cities. And also, they have a really good strict environmental and building rules. I think we have found this out during our FGDs and as well as in the interviews. So their regulations are very strict that prohibit buildings from being higher than the tallest palm tree and require that at least 60% of an island's natural vegetation remain untouched. So that's really impressive, and I think that's something that the other countries also can adopt. And also their geographical dispersion. With over 20 atolls covering at this vast area, visitors are naturally distributed geographically rather than concentration in one spot. And also the diversification of accommodation, I think Hoshin has described about this well. Like luxury resorts, I think I was also telling, luxury resorts always dominate. And the growth of local guest houses were doubled and on inhabitant islands. It was started around 2010. And it has helped to disperse the tourist crowds. They are not flocking into one particular place. And also the infrastructure upgrades, as Hoshin has mentioned, the expansion of Velena International Airport. They have the capacity of 7.5 million passengers at the current capacity. And that also helped to manage the increased arrivals efficiently. So I think with all these things, they are handling this overcrowding matter in a very perfect way.
Yes, excellent answer. In fact, out of the 1,200 islands, 198 are inhabited, and then only 105 tourist resorts are in operation, but there are about work in progress for another about 40. So there's ample room for expansion, and also connectivity is improving with regional airports and seaports coming up, seaplanes. They have the largest seaplane fleet in the world, and it's growing. So with accessibility, as I said, it's a huge seascape that they are controlling, and so there is actually Velana is now geared to handle that amazing capacity. So I think all are factors that will go into making a decision in investing in the Maldives. So I think those are the questions that we actually got from the audience. Let me see if there's anything else. Um, it's quite comprehensive report, which I think, as I said, is a must read. So you all can visit our website and see how you can, procure a copy. And then, of course, we will continue to answer, questions that you pose in subsequent follow-up webinars that we're having and podcasts that we are doing. So we actually got a very good panel of experts within our own organization, Research Intelligence Unit, who are quite exposed to the Maldives, gone there so many times. And also we've been having a local team as well supporting us. So thank you very much to our Maldivian friends, and especially the Maldivian High Commission and the High Commissioner, Mr. Imad Masood, who has been a very dear friend and who is really, more conversant about Sri Lanka and the language Sinhala than in fact I am, because he grew up here and he actually has a very close affinity to Sri Lanka. And so we are interested in actually developing the ties between Sri Lanka and Maldives, and always prefer Maldivian travelers to Sri Lanka as a special category, a privileged category, which is a dream that I've been having since 2008 when I first went to the Maldives, that Maldives holds a special place in Sri Lanka when it comes to education, travel, tour, and also, medical tourism, right? Which we need to again, and also a lot of Maldivians used to live in Sri Lanka because we are so friendly and, we are so open to the Maldivian friends. So, Nirkshani, you want to say something?
Yes, Doctor. I think we have got another question. Will the MMA, Maldives
Okay.
Monetary Authority, enforce foreign currency regulations in the tourism sector to balance MVR and USD usage? And could these rules change over time as the economy develops? So we have a question like this. Doctor, would you be able to help us with this? May I repeat the question?
Yeah, it's a bit, tell me again.
Will the MMA enforce foreign currency regulations in the tourism sector to balance MVR and USD usage? And could these rules change over time as the economy develops?
Well, there are rules coming in. Of course, exchange control is something that every country needs to consider. But Maldives has been very kind of liberal in that, if you find you can spend dollars in a Maldivian supermarket, right? So it
Yeah.
has not been an issue. It is a kind of economy that has pegged the Maldivian rupiah to the dollar, right? And there's no, so whatever MMA does will always be friendly to tourism, because, as you
Exactly.
said, they're always dependent on imports for the tourism sector. And there's now, homegrown vegetables, and there are, agrarian islands, agriculture islands, and all that. And even the vessels are now produced in Tilafushi. Maldives, very high quality. They had the boat show recently. And so a lot of things are happening, but whatever, you can be assured that whatever decisions MMA takes will not be detrimental to the expansion and development of tourism in the Maldives.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doctor. I think the government has stated right now there are no immediate changes to this regulation, but policies will be designed, as you have mentioned, to be adaptable based on the economic performance, but always it would be helpful to the tourism development.
Okay. Yeah, I also got a message from Mr. Gazen Dakhaldi. I don't think I said it right, but Mr. Gazen is correct. Yeah, he's a president, and they do architectural and technology support to the government of Maldives since 2019. So welcome to this webinar, and thank you for your
Yeah.
participation. And it's definitely, good that people who are actually holding hands with the government of Maldives in the development of tourism are actually keenly interested in a thing like the country report that we are publishing,
Yes.
because we are completely kind of unbiased. Obviously, as a professional research intelligence unit behavior, we are completely unbiased, and we want to be very objective about our views and our analysis of the potential the Maldives has. Okay. Any other thing we can actually? Yes, I think fine. So thank you. All it remains for me is to thank all the panelists who took part. Also, our founder, CEO, he has been there silent but observing, Mr. Roshan Madavela, and especially Nirikshani and also Hoshin for being the expert economists on the panel, and also your contribution to the Maldives Country Report. And of course, behind the scene, we have Niflan, who has been, playing the videos and giving all the support, and also the RIU team, Malin and all the others who have been helping us put together something of great quality and of great value and great wealth to the discerning public and discerning organizations who want to make investment decisions in the Maldives, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, all the places that Research Intelligence Unit is present. Okay, thank you so much, and we wind up looking forward to the next time we see you. Okay, thank you. Until then, take care.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Be safe,
Thank
and
you.
wish
Thank
you
you so
all
much,
the best.
Doctor, for your
Okay.
time also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.